Now, in today's daily puzzle, we're going to highlight one of the younger talents in the candidates tournament, Ramesh Babu Pragnananda, and hopefully I won't stumble over this puzzle as much as I stumbled over Praggs' name. Now, Pragg is commanding the white pieces against former, and perhaps future candidate, Grandmaster Anish Giri. We may notice that Pragg is down a pawn, and the queens are currently engaged in a rather unpleasant staring contest. Now, although our queen is certainly under pressure, let's also think about the story on the other side of the 7th rank, the G7 square. The pawn is pointing to that square and saying, hey, let's deliver mate. And the queen would be more than happy to oblige, if not for the defender's X-ray defense of that G7 square. So one idea is to try to break up the communication across the 7th rank. Well, at least the communication for black's queen, by playing rook d7, confronting the queen and creating a dangerous rook-queen battery pointing at g7, as well as h7, mate in 1, and mate in 1 in the air. Now, if black immediately captures the rook with the knight, well, now the knight is actually blocking its own queen from defending mate in 1. The problem here is that black is not forced to capture with the knight, and the knight can actually support the queen capturing the rook. And we may still feel we're on the right track because we can remove the guard. Now there's no longer a knight guarding the queen. But the problem here is not only can black trade queens when black is up material, black can also play the ultra-accurate defense rook f7, confronting white's queen while also x-raying the defense of its own queen. So here we're running out of steam in material. So let's resurface. Now you may relate to one of my problems that when I play a game and I find an encouraging idea, I can often find myself getting discouraged if the first move that represents that idea doesn't quite work. So in this case, rook d7 seems like a great idea, obstructing the queen's critical defense of that g7 mating square. But since rook d7 as a move doesn't quite serve its idea, it's all too easy to just reject the idea and look elsewhere. But hang on a minute, let's try to separate the move from the idea. So by not immediately giving up on our idea and putting it in the repair shop, we ask ourselves, what exactly is preventing our idea from working? Well, in this case, it's all about the knight. So by thinking about it this way, we can find Pragg's first move in the puzzle solution, removing the critical guardian of the 7th rank. Now before we take a look at the game, as well as puzzle continuation, I do want to briefly mention that black could play queen c1 immediately, confronting our king and hoping that we'll move the king immediately, allowing unnecessary counterplay. But in this case, either rook move is good enough, and I also want to point out that we can play just like the puzzle solution, using the bishop as a shield. With mate in 1 in the air, it's understandable that black is going to capture this pawn. And although black prevents the mate, we are up a piece, as long as we don't hang our rook. So one really instructive point behind moving the bishop off of the 3rd rank is that now our rook can move to e3, moving the bold rook that was willing to sacrifice itself to relative safety, preparing to swing over to the h-file, confronting the queen, target pawn, and king behind it. White is simply up material, and black's king is in serious danger. Now in the game, Giri would play like you and I, and simply say, hey, prove it, and capture the rook. And Pragg was ready to prove it. Now that the knight no longer guards the d7 square, the rook creates a powerful battery, not only attacking the queen, but supporting mate in 1. So understandably, Giri tries to create desperate counterplay. And this is where we need to be careful, because when you're playing your game and your king is under attack, I know all too well how easy it is to just immediately try to run with our king. But rather than running out of trouble, we're running into it. Now black gains a critical tempo against our king while defending against mate. Now the tables have completely turned, and it's our turn to worry about an exposed monarch. Now another way to deal with this desperate attack is to play rook d1, but the problem is we already sacrificed a rook for a knight, and black can capture this pawn. So we definitely don't want our active piece to move backwards. So where does that leave us? With the light-squared bishop that really isn't doing too much at the moment. So through process of elimination, we can find Pragg's next move, the stone-cold defense, bishop d1, using the bishop as a shield so the queen-rook battery can do its thing across the 7th rank. And with mate in the air, understandably Giri captured this pawn. Now the key difference here is we didn't panic with our king, allowing this annoying tempo. And since our king isn't under any pressure, we can pay black's king a visit, confronting the king, and since there's no escape, Giri understandably resigned. Now if black also panicked and moved the king, now our odd piece out suddenly takes center stage, lighting up the light squares, forcing black to block the attack, which is rather short-lived, confronting the king, forcing it to f8, followed by mate. So rather than resigning the game, or allowing a light squared knockout, the puzzle decides to allow us to deliver mate on the dark squares, celebrating our 7th ranked triumph, delivering mate. Now, is Pragg going to have pragging rights after this candidates tournament is through? Let us know what you think in the comments, and be sure to grab your popcorn and check out all of the drama unfold in the candidates tournament. This is National Master Dane Matson, and I'll see you next time.